Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Finance Committee for Tuesday, June 10th. The time is now 8:02, I think, 8:02. Can I get a roll call, please?
Member Cahill.
Here.
Member Childress.
Here.
Member Covert.
Here.
Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans. Member Galassi. Member Garcia.
Here.
Member Heather. Member Honig.
Here.
Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozag. Member Rutledge. Member Swarzy. Member Tornatori. Member Yu.
Here.
And Member Zay.
Okay, do we have any public comment for today? No public comments for today. I remember today. Chairwoman's remarks, I have nothing. It's a busy meeting, so we're just gonna get into the meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes for the 25-1406 Finance Committee regular meeting of Tuesday, May 27, 2025. I think I had a motion by member Childress, second by member Heather. Any discussion on these? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion to approve the budget transfers for FIR 009825 budget transfers for 6/10/2025 for various companies and accounting units? Oh, motion by member Childress, second by member Cahill. Any discussion on these? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm going to hand off to Vice Chair Cahill for procurement requisitions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for approval on 25-1453, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Casco International DBA CA Short Company to provide employee service awards for anniversary date and milestones for human resources for the period of June 10th, 2025 through November 30th, 2025 for a contract total amount not to exceed $17,610 per RFP 25036HR.
Got a motion by member Cahill, second by member Evans, and we have discussion by member Rutledge.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just glad that these are not little plastic icons to sit on shelves because I think that's a total waste of money. But I did look through this and I'm questioning there was $225 $4 charges amounting to $900 on this, and I'm just curious what that's about. Here comes the troops.
Good morning. Can you ask that question again? I just want to make sure you're answering it.
Yeah. There were
Yeah, yeah.
So in the presentation package, it was $13 total instead of $9. So what they did was they made sure they included all the shipping, handling, and some other items we pay separately into that $4. So it's $13 for the presentation package.
It's a monthly administration fee.
No, they took the total number of awardees that we will be presenting, and then that's the number. It's not monthly. We did clarify that with the vendor.
Okay, but if we're already buying an item from them, I don't understand why they're tacking on a $4 administrative fee.
Well, it's the $13, the $9 plus for the presentation plus the $4. So that's $13 administrative, like total fee for the presentation package that we award, which is
The certificate and the folder and the cardboard. So it's the certificate and the folder and the ribbon that is presented to the employee. It's the actual certification.
Thank you.
So again, the $13, just so we're clarifying, is including all of that.
correct.
Okay.
And the shipping.
So that's the total of what they're getting then, basically.
Yes.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
It does. I've always had issues with these types of awards. I think that something substantial that might actually be something that people would look forward to. Years ago, my husband was in a program like this. They had a catalog. They could choose from the catalog for something that they actually wanted rather than a piece of paper that's going to get recycled.
They do get also a gift along with that certificate.
Okay.
So there is something they can go online, based on their years, they do get to pick
That's
an
what I-
item. Yes,
All right,
exactly.
thank you so much.
Mhm.
Best of both worlds. Member Desart.
So that brings up questions. So is this $4 or the $13? Do we have to pay for the catalog?
No, we do not. It's actually online, or they can receive a paper copy if needed.
Perfect. So
But
what?
most of our employees
Could you
do
say
elect
again?
online.
Could you say again what what the money is for? The $13 or $4? It's for the packet, but the
It's
packet is like a
certificate, it's
catalog.
the folder, it's the ribbon and like seal that is presented to the employee. So that's the actual hard copy, the hard piece that's given to an employee to recognize their achievement, their milestone anniversary. And then also they're given information to go online to select an item that will be shipped directly to their home.
So they're charging us basically for,
The
to-
document
they're charging us
for the
to
certificate.
go online, for our employees to go online to order something.
They're charging us to create the certificate and the coverings for the certificate to send to us to hand to the employee. So when someone is being recognized, they have that certificate physically handed to them, and then they're also directed to go to the website to select a gift, an item, whether.
Yeah, I understand the selecting of a gift part. All right, thank you.
Member Zay.
Thank you. And just to clarify, if you remember at our committee meetings or here at the thing, it's that blue folder with the ribbon around it that has it in there. That's what we're talking about. That's being presented to those people for their milestone.
Correct, thank you.
And it's only 76 more days until Sheila's gone, if anybody's counting.
Thank you, Member Zay, for clarifying that. Yeah, and I'm appreciative of what you guys do with that. I know where I used to work, they handed me a copy paper off the copier. So I think the $13 is a nice touch here. I think we can do that for our staff. So I think that's fine. So thank you so much for that information. Any other questions on this? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for the discussion. Moving on to development and member Tornatori.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of DCR 3-25, a transfer of funds from unappropriated cash funds to the Building, Zoning and Planning Fund Company, 1100, Accounting Unit 2810, in the amount of $646,204 to prepay the first 3 years of a 5-year renewal contract with Acela Inc. for permitting software.
Okay, we got a motion by member Tornatori, second by member Krajewski. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, member Tornatori. Moving on to ETSB and member Schwarzy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on ETSR 3025, resolution approving the sale of inventory from the County of DuPage on behalf of the Emergency Telephone System Board of DuPage County to the College of DuPage Police Department for the amount of $156,606.72.
Okay, so we've got a motion by member Schwarzy, second by member Yu. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to judicial and public safety and member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on JPSP 25-25, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Trinity Services Group, Inc. to provide meal service for the inmates and officers in the jail for the sheriff's office for the period of June 1st, 2025 through May 31st, 2026, for a contract total amount of $1,526,156.25. And this is a second of 3 option renewals.
Okay, we got a motion by member Evans, second by member Zay. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor then?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on JPS-R-7-25, amendment to resolution JPSP 25-25 issued to Trinity Services Group, Inc. to provide food service for the DuPage County Jail for the Sheriff's Office. The contracted rate is increasing from $2.25 per meal delivered to $2.32 per meal delivered, resulting in an increase of 3.8%.
Got a motion by member Evans, second by member Zay. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move on JPSP 26 25. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to Justice Text Inc. for the purchase of audio-visual evidence management software licenses for the Public Defender's Office for the period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 for an amount not to exceed $50,000.
We got a motion by member Evans, second by member Yu. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I'd like to move on JPSP 27 25. Recommendation for the approval of a contract with Diana Hightower for coordinator of the Family Violence Coordinating Council for the period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 for a total contract amount not to exceed $43,472. And this is grant funded.
Motion by member Evans, second by member Heather. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next I'd like to move on JPSP 29 25. Recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to ThinkGuard to provide backup and recovery services for the Sheriff's Office for the period of June 10th, 2025 through November 30th, 2027 for a contract total not to exceed $368,853.50.
We have a motion by member Evans. Who was the second? Member Zay? Thank you. Any discussion on this item? Member Yu?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I had asked several questions with regard to this item during JPS committee, and I don't know that my questions were adequately answered during the committee meeting, but I did speak with Jason Blumenthal at length after the meeting, which I think did help me in understanding this item better. But I'm just going to say that I think this is obviously something in reaction to the cybersecurity incident. They had not backed up their, I think, email servers, Microsoft 365. And so this is, again, in reaction to something that had happened. And I would just hope that we would be more proactive going forward, and also that there would be continued communication and further collaboration with our IT department, who have many subject matter professionals who could help and keep the sheriff's office and all the elected officials' offices protected. And so that is just my statement that I hope this is going forward, that things will get better. Thank you.
Thank you for your statement, member Yu. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor of this item? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, member Evans. Moving on to Public Works and member Childress.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move on FMP 2725 on the recommendation for the approval of a contract to Ashland Door Solutions to provide door maintenance, door sales, and installation as needed at the county facility for facilities management for a period of July 19, 2025 through July 18, 2026 for a contract total amount not to exceed $45,000.
Got a motion by member Children, second by member Zay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move on FMP 2825 on the recommendation to award a contract to Carbon Solutions Group for the participation in the Illinois Shines Adjustable Block Grant Program, which provides payments in exchange for renewable energy credits for approximately $494.56 for a period of June 10, 2025 through November 30, 2041. Selected through the other professional services under the bid award.
Okay, I've got a motion by member Childress, second by member Desart. Any discussion on this item? Member Krajewski.
Is this really a 15-year or 16-year contract?
Come on up. Tim Carbaugh, Facilities. I believe it is.
Till the end of that one, he'll be in his 6th decade.
Microphone. You got
There we
it.
go. Better? Correct. This is the beauty with this one. This will, it's a $12,000 expense, but this will generate $177,000 in revenue for us. This is a rebate we get from ComEd for the solar. And yes, those terms are correct. What they do is they actually front load the money for us. If by chance we didn't meet the generation rates, for example, if a tornado damaged some of our panels, whatever, we'd have to refund that money. The term is correct. That's the way this is set up with ComEd.
So the money's front loaded, the credits we get are
Correct.
front loaded? Okay, and then it's a payback if you, for some reason, don't.
If we don't meet the performance standards, correct? Yep.
Okay, thank
No,
you.
it's a great program. This wasn't available to us about 2 years ago, but it just recently became available.
Yeah. It is a great program, so thank you for the information, Tim. Any other questions on this item?
Do we have that for all of our campus stuff then, or?
From the solar perspective, as it stands now, we do. This is actually a ComEd rebate, correct?
Okay. And can we add to it if we get?
We opened bids last week and with your permit, with your approval, we'll be adding to it before the end of the year, correct? Yep, we will be completing 421.
And then more credits to come then?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank
Which
you.
is a very good thing. All right, thank you. Any other discussion? Member Rutledge?
I just wanted to add that, thank you to you and your team, because the new solar that went out for bid, if I understand, almost all of it is grant funded.
The lion's share is grant funded. Facilities is paying a part of it for two reasons. One is any revenue we generate for a period of time, we have to roll back in. So we're expanding it. And then the other one is we wanted to maximize the roof. We didn't want to do 75% of the roof and then come back later and do the last 25. Just so you're aware, the auditorium roof has not been redone. When that is redone, this system is large enough that it'll be, for lack of a better term, plug and play. We can put solar around the auditorium and this is oversized to handle that as well. Once we do it, you want to put solar on a new roof, not an older roof.
Right.
Be still my heart. Thank you for your work.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tim. Okay. Any other discussion on this item? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Member Childers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move on PWP 1425 on the recommendation for the approval of a contract to Nationwide Hall for one stainless steel tanker trailer for Public Works for a period of June 10, 2025 through November 30, 2025 for a total contract amount not to exceed $91,143.
Got a motion by member Childers, second by member Heather. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor then?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, member Childers. Moving on to stormwater and member Zay.
Morning, Madam Chair. I'd like to combine items 7.1 through 7.3. These are all intergovernmental agreements with Westmont for water quality grants.
We've got a motion by member Zay to combine 7.1 through 7.3 and second by member Schwarzy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those items are combined.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move on SMR 6-25, intergovernmental agreement between the County of DuPage and the Village of Westmont for the North Adams Street Detention Naturalization Project from June 10th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 for $14,750. Move on SMR 7-25, approve intergovernmental agreement between the County of DuPage and the Village of Westmont for the 3927 North Lincoln Detention Naturalization Project from June 10th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 for an amount of $5,865. And move on SMR 8-25, intergovernmental agreement between the County of DuPage and the Village of Westmont for 328 South Wilmette Avenue Detention Naturalization Project from June 10th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 for an amount of $14,230.
We've got a motion by member Zay on these items, second by member Desart. Any discussion on any of these items? All in favor then? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Moving on to technology and member Covert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on TEP 8-25, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Excella Inc. for annual subscription service to Excella Velocimo Connect Enterprise for Bluebeam and Citizen Access and Civic Platform for Building and Zoning, Public Works, Stormwater, and Transportation for the period of June 23rd, 2025 through June 22nd, 2029 for a contract total amount not to exceed $1,144,575, not suitable for competitive bids.
Okay, we got a motion by member Covert, second by member Yu. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, member Covert. Moving on to transportation, members Ozog.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to combine items 1 through 3.
Got a motion by member Ozog, second member Galassi to combine items 1 through 3. And all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Those items are combined.
Thank you. I move to approve DTP 003525, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Traffic Control Corporation for annual maintenance and support services for the Division of Transportation's Centrax ATMS software system for the period July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 for a contract total not to exceed $36,773, not suitable for competitive bids, sole source. I move for approval of DTP 003625, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Max Body Shop Incorporated for auto body repairs for the period July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 for a contract total not to exceed $70,000 per renewal of bid, second of three options to renew, $20,000 for Division of Transportation and $50,000 for the Sheriff's Office. I move for approval of DTP 003525, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Auto Tech Centers Incorporated to furnish and deliver Goodyear tires as needed for the Division of Transportation for the period July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 for a contract total not to exceed $120,000, contract pursuant to Intergovernmental Cooperation Act.
Here we got a motion for those items from Member Ozog, second by Member Heather. Any discussion on any of these items? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those items are approved.
Thank you. I move for approval of DTR 001325, awarding resolution issued to SKC Construction Incorporated for the 2025 Pavement Preservation Crack Sealing Program for an estimated county cost of $30,000 per lowest responsible bid.
Got a motion by Member Ozog, second by Member Evans. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I move for approval of DTR 001425, awarding resolution to Schroeder Asphalt Services Incorporated for the Lyle Township 2025 Road Maintenance Program. Estimated township cost $1,353,606.86. No county cost per lowest responsible bid.
Okay, motion by Member Ozog, second by Member Galassi. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Member Ozog.
Thank you.
Moving on to finance resolutions, and I'm handing off to Vice Chair Cahill.
Thank you. I move for approval on FIR 94-25, acceptance and appropriation of the Illinois Home Weatherization Assistance Program, HHS Grant Program Year 26, Intergovernmental Agreement, Company 5,000 Accounting Unit in the amount of $974,465, Community Services.
We've got a motion by Member Cahill, second by Member Schwarzy. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I move for approval on FIR 95-25, acceptance and appropriation of the Illinois Home Weatherization Assistance Program State Grant, Program Year 26, Intergovernmental Agreement Number 26251-028, Company 5,000, Accounting Unit 1490, in the amount of $568,959, Community Services.
Motion by Member Cahill, second by Member Desart. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor then? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I move for approval on FIR 96-25, acceptance and appropriation of the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program State Grant Program Year 26, Intergovernmental Agreement Number 2625428, Company 5,000, Accounting Unit 1495, in the amount of $3,422,595, Community Services.
Got a motion by Member Cahill, second by Member Schwarzy. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I move for approval on FIR 97-25, acceptance and appropriation of the Title 4D Grant 2527 Intergovernmental Agreement Number 2026-55013 IGA Company 5,000 Accounting Unit 6570 in the amount of $1,629,842, State's Attorney's Office.
Got a motion by Member Cahill, second by Member Yu. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor then? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I move for approval on FIR 93-25, acceptance of an extension of time for the Illinois Home Weatherization Assistance Program, Grant Program Year 25, Intergovernmental Agreement Number 22403-028, Company 5,000, Accounting Unit 1400, from June 30th, 2025 to September 30th, 2025, Community Services.
Got a motion by member Cahill, second by member Heather, discussion by member Krajewski.
What was the reason for the extension?
Mary Keating's gonna come up and answer that.
Good morning. The state provided an extension for all of the community action agencies
Is that
operating weatherization. Strictly, the state had some challenges with a new software program that they initiated this year. So a lot of the agencies, including us, got off to a slow start. So they extended the time that we have to expend the grant.
to spend the money? So it's the time to spend the money, but we will be able to spend it. We just haven't spent it. And they're allowing us to get an extension.
Yeah, it's an additional 3 months.
Okay, and it's because they were slow in getting whatever we needed from. 'cause
There,
it goes to
yeah,
the
when
state.
they launched a new software system for the weatherization program, it had a few bugs in it to put it mildly. And so
Well, it was built
lots of
like-
agencies got off to a slow start, so they're extending the time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, any other discussion on this? All those in favor then?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I move for approval on FIR 100-25. Recommendation for the approval of funds to the Elmhurst Center for Performing Arts to fund a performing arts program in the amount of $25,000 ARPA interest.
A motion member Cahill, second by member Yu, discussion by member.
Yes,
Cahill.
I just wanted to
Vice Chair
say, the Elmhurst Center for Performing Arts is a nonprofit, a 501c3 organization that does great, great work. An example is Thursday evening, Miguel Cervantes, who played Alexander Hamilton, is coming to Elmhurst University for an evening with Miguel Cervantes. And we all know that arts matter, and I think this is a really good thing to do. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Member to start.
Thank you. I just wondered, is this grant part of the member initiative program?
So this grant was, last year, no, they're not part of the member initiative program. They did apply for the small grant program. They applied last year and did get money. And this year they applied. And my district, we only used 118,000. We didn't use it all up. And they did not get approved for, one was a small paperwork error. They submitted an older annual report. And the second thing was there was a difference in the requirement this year that we set out. And so that they had gotten CARES money in the past, years back. So they were denied their grant. So they were, concerned about that and really needing the money. And so we felt that it was appropriate to give it through ARPA interest.
Thanks, Cindy.
Okay, any other discussion on this item? All those in favor then? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Vice Chair Cahill. Sorry.
Sorry, taking a drink. I have a little cold. I move to receive and place on file A, payment of claims, B, appointments, and C, grant proposal notifications.
Okay, we've got a motion by member Cahill, second by member Galassi to receive and place on file. Any discussion on any of these? All those in favor then? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, Vice Chair Cahill. Moving on to our presentations, and we've got a finance department. We're going to start with our budget presentations. 'Tis the season. And we're going to start with finance. Jennifer Sinn's coming up, and I think Jeff Partnowich is.
Hey, good morning. I'm here to present the finance and tort liability budgets this morning. I will keep this very brief and entertain questions at the end. The finance department helps all elected officials and departments. We help with budget, procurement, accounts payable, accounting, auditing, grants, risk management, and the mailroom. In addition, we do long-term financial planning, forecasting revenue and expenses, including tracking changes at the state and federal level. We also manage the county-wide financial systems, including the OpenGov budget system, the Infor ERP accounting system, and the MHC invoicing system. As a department, we are constantly working to save money and improve efficiency through initiatives like outsourcing risk management, decentralizing accounts payable, streamlining the procurement process, and accurately allocating expenses to make department budgets more transparent. Finance is funded by overall general fund revenues such as county property tax and sales tax. In addition, the department generates approximately $1.1 million in revenue as shown on the slide. Most of that revenue comes from indirect cost reimbursements. Finance is a service department and through the county's cost allocation plans, sends invoices to special revenue funds for various services provided, such as processing the pay list, procurement, budgeting, and accounting. In addition, through review of the postage account, it was discovered that there was a surplus of funds totaling $250,000. We recently had that returned to the county's general fund so that we are now earning investment income on that money rather than the vendor. Finance has taken a conservative approach to spending, and the FY 2026 department requests are 1.5% higher than the FY 2025 current budget. The Tort Liability Fund includes a property tax levy for providing risk management in collaboration with departments and elected officials, focusing on the protection of county assets through loss prevention and loss reductions, including insurance policies offering the broadest coverage and processing claims for the most effective cost savings. Any questions? I told you I keep it very brief.
Thank you, Jennifer, for your presentation. First of all, I wanted to focus on the fact that you did such a great job in saving the taxpayers' money with the postage. Please explain that to the board in detail. I know what that's about, but I'd like them to understand that.
Okay, so we had a mailroom employee that was there for 50 years and we've had some turnover in finance. So now that the mailroom is directly under the budget team, so we have done a deep dive into everything mailroom related. So one of those things was going over the postage machine, of which we found that there was a large surplus of money on the postage machine. So we just kept mailing money, more and more money to the postmaster. So we asked for that to be refunded to us. And we got that refunded a couple months ago, and it's now sitting in the general fund. So we've been doing a deep dive into everything.
Thank you. That's excellent. And then the second thing I wanted to point out to the board is that under the tort liability, you can see that the fiscal year 2024 actual is where you see the insurance payment of the $14,233,542. So that is what was allocated and in our budget for payouts for settlements. So going forward, our insurance is probably, you're estimating a little bit that it is going to go up based on the cybersecurity attack. Do you want to tell them about that?
So we have some pretty good timing. We actually met with Alliant Mesereau yesterday to start our pre-renewal with all of our insurance policies that cover the county. This was our best guesstimate of what we'll pay for insurance before claims get paid out. We're seeing a really good renewal. So hopefully we won't have an increase in any of the policies, as a matter of fact. And hopefully it'll be flat as we progress through the insurance renewal policies. So again, this is pretty conservative, but as we get further into the renewal process, hopefully the amounts will stay flat or go down.
One last question. So this is the first of our budget presentations for 2026. We obviously have finance, a service department, and our tort liability. I just want to make sure that all the departments come in and present their budget as you are doing today. And I would like to see if we can get confirmation from all the different budgets, people that would be presenting their budget, and that we have confirmation that they are going to do so.
Yes, working with Chair Garcia, we have contacted all the departments to ask them to come and present, and that includes all of the committees that a lot of you chair. One of the things that we wanted to do to start the budget process and the presentations is to use this as a template. We've heard you, we've asked that what you want to see. We believe that this addresses some of the comments that you have. We'll share this with all of the departments who need to make presentations. This gives you a deep dive into a lot of the numbers.
Yes, thank you. It focuses on budget to actual, and that is what Member Galassi brought up, and that is what we need to see with every budget.
And I would agree, Vice Chair Cahill, and I have been talking with members of the staff, and so I will be making they've already sent emails, and we're looking for correspondence, much as you have requested also, that they will be coming up. If I don't hear anything, I'll be going down and personally talking to all of the elected officials. So I'm making sure they come up for this. I think this has been a great first presentation today. Really quickly, I mean, it shows that you don't have to put a lot of fluff into it. Basically, we just want to see the numbers. We want to see what you're presenting, and that's what we're looking for. So that's what we're doing here. So moving on, Member Krajewski.
Sure, since we got an example up there, look at professional services. The budget was 677,000 in 22, and they actually only spent 417. Then in 2023, it was 815,000, and they actually only spent 196. So you can see these actuals are way less than the budget. Go to the next year, they budgeted 615,000, and they only spent 340,000. So again, that's all throughout the campus. Every elected official, they have these budgets in there, and then they actually spend a heck of a lot less. And then the next year they continue to do the same thing and the same thing. And we can see that right there with professional services. It's a good example, but I mean, we were spending half actually of what we actually budgeted. And therefore this board, this committee cannot allocate other monies to somewhere else because we have it allocated in a budget in line items that we're not using. I'm not even sure why those are like that, and we continue year after year to just go higher or whatever, but we're not actually spending it. So I mean, that's a perfect example to show everybody. I mean, the other stuff is different, but that's what everybody's doing throughout this campus. All these elected officials and departments, they put a budget in there and they come back, say, oh, it'll give us the same as last year, whatever, but they're never spending anywhere near in some of these line items what they actually budgeted for.
Yeah, let me address that one specifically.
3 or 4 years in a row.
This is in tort liability. This is to pay out claims and attorney's fees. So we try to come up with a guesstimate based upon past year's history, but it's always going to fluctuate in that line item because we don't know what claims are going to be during the upcoming fiscal year, along with attorney's fees that go into that. So yes, while we do have historical spending, underspending in a lot of line items, this particular line item in tort, it's hard to predict that because we don't know what's going to come in during the year. But no, we hear you. We hear you.
It'll ask you what's there, you know, what's potentially be paid out, what's long term. We kind of know it'll be settled in next year, it'll be settled in following year.
Yes.
And if we've engaged professional services, we should know. But we seem to always estimate on the high side. Because we've had 3 years, I mean, even the first year in 22, if you look at it, we didn't spend as much, but we increased it instead of decreasing. And if we only spent 417, you'd have thought maybe we go to 500, but no, we go to 800.
Well,
Using that as an example, I mean, but that's for every single around this campus. That's how they do it.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Remember you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I want to continue the inquiry into the tort liability expenses. Just can you tell me the difference between professional services and other contractual services, what the difference is? Because I am noticing that obviously the professional services is increasing, going from the 340,000 to 500,000 to a request of 634,000, but other contractual services is actually decreasing. So I just wanted to know what the difference is.
The other contractual services includes a contingency line. So what we did is we, not knowing where things were going to go in 26 with some of the renewals and settlements, we downgraded the contingency line and we cannot spend out of the contingency line. So like for 2026, we have $100,000 in there. So we moved the other expenses into the other lines, the other amount, because we've budgeted higher in the prior years in the contingency line.
And you're saying the professional services is really for attorneys, for litigation and that kind of thing? The
Correct.
Other contractual services is for what exactly?
It's contingencies.
Just contingency?
Yes.
Okay. And then I just had one more question and it had to do with, what was it? Oh, I think it was finance revenue. It says refunds and overpayments and it pretty much says FY 2025 projected $250,091. I'm just wondering what that is about and why that's projected over any other year.
That is the refund from the postage.
Ah, okay,
wow.
thank you. Sorry, I missed that part.
Okay, Member Covert?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Going back to the previous screen with professional services, you were saying that added money, that extra money there is kind of like padding, like a buffer for tort liability. What happens if when those funds aren't used? Do they roll over to the next year or are they deposited into our tort liability fund or do they go to the general fund?
They just stay in the fund balance for the tort liability fund.
And they're specifically used for just in case tort liability money and designated for that category.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Member Osa?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Following up on Member Cahill and Member Kajewski's comments, I want to be sure that we, not just committees need to present, we need to hear from all elected officials. And approving the budget is, one of our most important roles, if not our most important role. So this is a time when they present to us that we could ask questions like Brian brings up about surplus submittals in the beginning for your budget, et cetera. And it's just really important that everybody shows up. Thank you.
Couldn't agree more. Member Desart?
Thank you. I want to thank you both for your presentation. It was very clear and concise, and I really appreciate it. My question is this, it's about the payroll, and I understand that payroll is one of the most expensive line items in every company, every organization. The payroll, much to one of my colleagues said earlier, the payroll has gone for several years, budgeted, and the actual is a lot lower. So one of my questions is, because the actual is a lot lower than the budgeted, like my colleague said, if something is in the budget, we can't use it elsewhere. So that's one concern. Secondly, a thought that maybe the budget is up this year for the payroll line item because we have hired some of those people that we weren't able to hire before. So that could be the reason. And if you could respond to those questions.
Yes.
And then I have one more.
So the finance payroll is one of the reasons it's been underspent the last several years is because we code our time to ARPA and grants and tort liability as much as we can. So when we prepare the salary budget, we budget conservatively, especially with what's been going on in the federal government with we're losing some of the grants. So we took a more conservative approach in 2026 as far as budgeting the salaries, because right now there's a large part of salaries going to ARPA and various grants. So ARPA is winding down more, so not as much time is being spent there. In regards to tort liability, the salaries, we outsource risk management, and that occurred in last year. So the salaries were not spent as high because we budgeted for 4 full-time people, and now we only have 2 full-time people. So the other thing that's budgeted in there is the finance staff that absorbed additional work is coding the time to tort, which also saves the general fund money.
Okay, Member Desart, you have another question?
Yeah, so I'm still not clear. Are we bringing the payroll line item up because more people have been hired in those spots where it was difficult to hire previously?
Yes,
Okay.
we have hired. Finance is right now, we are staffed where we want to be staffed.
Okay, and do you guys know how understaffed we still are? Positions available versus,
The entire county,
yeah,
and we still are around in the general fund, plus 100 open headcount. about 150.
Okay, and so this might be an unpopular question, but if we have lived for all these years since what, 2022, without those positions filled, could we just go on without them and put the money back into the general fund that was in the line item for payroll?
I can address finance right now.
Okay.
Last year, we did reduce one headcount. We just didn't fill it historically, and we've restructured through the years. All of our open headcount is being actively recruited.
Okay,
The reason why we would probably be under budget is because of what Jennifer said, and because we have people that leave. It creates an
hole.
opening, and we
Right.
save money through that. I think we're projecting in finance to be about $115,000 under budget. That's not too bad, but we don't have a lot of open headcount. We will discuss throughout the budget process how we're going to handle headcount, open headcount. We're still working through that, but I see some changes coming up, especially historically if we've had a lot of open headcount that hasn't been filled, because it's creating a surplus in salaries that are anywhere between $5 to $7 million in the general fund per year.
good. Thank you both very much. Appreciate the information.
I think with Vice Chair Cahill and then, I'm sorry, Member Glassy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple small questions. A lot of my questions have been answered, but the third item down, other commodities, there's a big swing in that line item. So I'm just wondering if you could give a little bit of explanation as to what is in that category and how did we end up like with a negative balance in 23?
I can explain that.
Okay, thanks.
So back in 2022 and 2022, finance was paying for all the office supplies and all the paper for the entire general fund. So then in 2023, we're trying to make the departments more transparent, so all of their expenses go in there. So we said to the departments, you budget for all of your office supplies, your paper, and everything like that. So one of the things that happened in 2023, and this is part of being over the mailroom and understanding all of this stuff now, when we buy paper, we buy a skid of paper at a time, and we have to pay for that up front. Then we invoice the departments, and then they reimburse us. So to get the best value, we buy the skid of paper. So we have to have enough money in our budget in order to do that, which wound up, because of the timing of when the paper gets delivered, I made sure at the end of the year we got a skid of paper, and that wound up causing, when we got the revenue back, causing us to technically be negative.
Okay.
So, but that's, so I, when the 2025 budget, I budgeted high because of having to buy the skid of paper, even though I knew that I wasn't going to spend it. So in 2026, I've sat down with the person who oversees the mailroom, and we discussed it at length about how can we make this work, because I don't want my budget to be so high. And so we're going to be very strategic in how paper is ordered and how it's invoiced, so that we don't have to lapse that money in our budget, but we do have to front load that.
I know this is an immaterial amount, being $56,000, but isn't that just kind of a pass-through number then? If you're charging back all the other departments?
Yes, but we have to be able to pay the invoice when it comes. So so that's why I put that, it's much lesser, but when you get the first, you're going to spend about that much with the first skid of paper. And then, theoretically, we won't touch much of it, but I have to be able to pay that invoice when it comes.
Okay, shouldn't it just be like a corresponding accounts receivable then though with that line item? If you're just getting reimbursed?
Well, the reimbursement, so if a department reimburses us, it hits the expense account. So there's a journal entry that's done that hits the expense account, and that's why 2023 wound up going negative.
Okay,
Because it's internal, the internal charges, we don't book receivable.
okay, understood. And then just to ask an additional question about the professional services. I know that number is hard to predict. Oh, wait, we're on the wrong. Can we go to that screen? No.
Yep.
The one before this, I believe.
Bring that.
Toward.
Oh, yeah,
there.
there we are. It just seems like, we had that unfortunate, unusual, I don't know how much we can say about it, 'cause it's during executive session event that caused the large liability that we had in 24, which I would imagine also dramatically increased the professional services because of that event. So I guess I'm a little surprised that we're increasing the request in 26, even if, again, not a huge material amount, but to increase it after, the actual of 24, even during that big event, was only 340,000. And then I'm sure there was some follow-up expenses, but if 25 is projected to be 500,000 with that large event taking place, I'm just surprised, I'm hoping we're not going to have another large event like that. So are there going to be expenses related to that event that are going to spill over to 26? Or I'm just, again, just looking for explanation as to why we're increasing that number.
What I can do is I can reduce that number and put it into contingencies in case we need it.
Okay, that would be great. Thank
Yep.
you.
Now Vice Chair Cahill.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to go back to salaries. So I want the board to understand that one of the jobs of the finance department is accounts payable and to approve the bills to be paid. So although we are under budget for salaries, I want the board to understand that the finance staff time allocated to the issues with the clerk's office has increased. Jennifer prepared a piece of paper for me that said that the CFO's weekly percent time increase due to the issues with the clerk's office is 5%. The deputy chief financial officer, 15%. The principal budget analyst, 10%. The AP supervisor, 7.5%. And financial analyst 1, 5%. This is a percent of time that it takes because the clerk's office is not providing the necessary documentation for these amounts that need to be paid, and also the lack of documentation and the lack of the budget transfer form that then our finance staff has to take time out of their regular duties to handle the problems in the clerk's office. So although we are under budget in that area, be assured that it is taking our staff time, more time, because of the problems in the clerk's office and the fact that they will not prepare the documentation and will not provide budget transfers.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Cahill. Member Honig.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you both for the presentations. Very clear and concise, very helpful to me. I just had a quick question of the big swing in rentals. I see in 22 it was 194, 23 232, and then back to 4,362 for the request, which is same as the projected for 2025 going to 2026. Was that an expiration of the life of certain equipment that you were using, or was that
I got that. So back in 2022 and 2023, finance paid for the rental of the copiers for the entire general fund. So now, through more transparent budgeting, we have allocated that to all the departments. So all the departments will have that expense. Ours has gone down, so we only have the copiers that we are renting.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, Member Krajewski.
Yeah, just back to the professional services. Again, I don't think it really matters how much we pay out. It matters what professional services we have on specific cases. I mean, we could have an $11 million payout that's very little because it was settled, and we could have a $2 million payout that needs professional services brought in because we're going to trial and we're litigating and we're moving it forward. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. It has to do with just talking to the state's attorneys. I mean, they do some of the stuff themselves, and how many they need help on, where they're actually going out and getting professional services, how many cases are going on. They would probably be the good ones to tell you what to put in for your budget. So whether you're going to lower the 100 grand or you're going to put it in contingency, I think the conversation is how many are out there, how many need professional service. We have to bring in another law firm or something to help out, and what they think their best guess is. I mean, that's how you're going to go. It doesn't have anything to do with, I guess the sheer amount we have and how many are going to trial and how many we need outside help on is what's going to determine what we budget for that. It has nothing to do with the size of the suits that come into us. It has to do with what kind of help they need on cases and how far those things are going. Are they going to trial? Are they going to depositions? We have an outside firm? That's what's going to tell you how to estimate what you think that number is going to be. And I don't know. I think it's in conjunction working with the state's attorneys to find out where they're needing help, if they need to hire somebody, if they're going to go to help settle a case.
All right, thank you. Member Eckhoff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Member Cronin made some comments regarding Cahill, sorry. Crowley Cahill. Made some very good comments about the clerk's budget, but I wanted to clarify it's the county clerk we're talking about, not the circuit clerk. Number one. And number two, and I've had this conversation with staff, and I think I've said on the board before, but I want to say it again. You know, the head count that is repeatedly open year after year after year, I think should be eliminated and the costs associated with that eliminated, because this last year we had 3 elected officials who had extra money as a result of extra headcount and were able to use that money. 2 of the 3 did a good job in presenting to staff what they wanted to do, and I appreciate that, but our county clerk did not do that and had tremendous expenditures just because once we gave them the money, we couldn't take it back. So I would like to err on the side of reduction in their budget, not only by headcount, but by other things that just in general, maybe 10% or something, so that during the year, if something did happen, they'd have to come back to us and get approval from us instead of going to the staff and saying, hey, we got this extra money and this is how we spend it. Their extra expenditures should come through us, not staff. I think our staff does a great job, and I'm sure they did a great job before. But if they want extra money, it should come through us, that we're responsible for it.
Okay, thank you, Member Eckhoff. Any other questions, Member Zay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I think I've talked to staff. I think it's time we go back to, we talk about headcount, where if somebody needs to hire additional headcount, they come before this board and they make the reason to do it, not just they have extra headcount in there. And I think everybody might be on the same page where we've had these open headcount for year after year after year. We're gonna think we should take those away. And then if they need to come back, we can always associate, we can budget transfer, we can do other things to do that. But I think our niceness has come back to hurt us at times. And I think if we see where we know we're down on staff, but if there's a reason that there's been, as other board members have said, there's been 6 open headcount for 4 years, there's probably a reason why, and we probably don't need those after 3 or 4 years. So I think this is going to be an interesting year for the budgeting and for headcount, and seeing going forward how we're going to handle that.
Thank you, Member Zay. Member Evans?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to talk about the head count also. They're not the same head count, right? People, some one person quits, we hire somebody else. There might be 4 spots open, but you know, it's not like it's the same spot open for 3 years. Usually there's always going to be turnover. So there's probably always going to be some kind of open head count.
Yes, but we're seeing a trend where this has continued for the last 3, maybe 4 years.
Okay.
And that number that I mentioned, 115 to 120 open head count, that's continually like that year after year.
Can we designate, like, you know, if it's open head count, how long it's been open?
Yeah.
That would be very helpful. If we know that it's something that's been, you know, open for 3 years, we probably don't need it. But if it's something where one person, like the department has a total of 5 open head count or something, and you know, this just kind of, there's a lot of turnover.
Yeah, we track that very closely.
Okay, thank you.
Member Krajewski?
We have headcount that are open out there that aren't funded, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and we've had some of those where we don't fund the headcount, and they've been open for year after year after year. But I don't even know why we just don't get rid of it, because we don't fund it, and they have this huge headcount which has never been, you know, used, or they have extra 4 or 5 that they've never filled for the last 5 or 6 years, but we haven't funded them either. To me, I don't even know why we just don't get rid of those headcount, because they're not even funded. It's just in there in our headcount. The other ones I think we need to look at when they've been clearly open for a long time and we're funding them. But I don't know why we continue to put these headcounts in there that aren't funded and they're never used. It just doesn't make sense.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? I just had a comment on this really quickly. I think the great reason we're doing these presentations is to hear from all of the board members. I think that all of your comments are going to be taken into consideration. I think we have some great comments today about the head counts. We have a great conversation about tort liability and things like that are happening. And I think all of this is going to be taken in, and then when the presentation for the budget is done by our chair, all of these comments going to be taken into consideration by all of us who are discussing it, and things will be changed. I think we have some really good ideas here. I too am a little bit concerned at open head counts. This is not We don't have ARPA money anymore. That is done. So we have to be very fiscally conscious about what we're doing here. I'm very much in favor, I think Member Ozark is the one that said it, is that making sure that everyone comes up here and does the same presentation that we just heard today, because it doesn't take a long time. I do know for a fact, I heard from some of our elected officials, they were working on it this weekend, so I know people are working on it. So people are doing their diligent work, and I just hope that that's all across the county, and we'll be seeing all of them, because we want to have these kind of conversations. This is what the county board is for. We're here to ask the questions about the budget so that we can then bring it back and discuss it, and then Chair has a great place to make her great decisions on. So anyways, so that's how I feel. So I want to thank my staff here, not really my staff, all of our staff, the finance staff for the great work today. And I thank you for being a good template for everybody else today. So thank you so much. Moving on, discussion on the 2024 surplus. I think Nick's going to come up for that one, right?
Short discussion. Chair Garcia, I think a meeting or two ago, I think you requested to bring up the 2024 surplus discussion. Just to jog everybody's memory, back January 28th of this year, we had quite a discussion on how we would work through the 2024 surplus. And to that point, there were 3 items that were approved, but the board gave a direction, hold off on spending this money until June 1st. And then we'll kind of see how we want to move forward. And those are the 3 items you have there. This is the only slide I'm going to show, unless if you want to, I have other slides behind to go deeper in detail. But just so you know, on February 11th, then following that direction, we brought all of the surplus resolutions through. And for these, there was a point on these 3 that no additional spending or expenses would occur till after June 1st. That was written to the resolution. I will tell you, no spending has occurred on these to date until we had this discussion. But of the 3 items we have, the first one is the board voted to transfer 1.5 million to stormwater for the Elmhurst Quarry. A little bit of an update on that. I'm sure Stormwater Chair Zay can go more in depth, but at Stormwater Committee last week, we heard that there is even more of a need in the quarry. Very, it's a difficult environment, but they're going to be looking, in addition to this 1.5 million, and I know the board dedicated 1 million for quarry repairs, they will be looking for at least another $2 million. Probably, Chair Zay, your timing wise, are you thinking 2026, 27 for the repairs? Is that what you're thinking for that one?
Yeah, thank you, Nick. We have substantial more damage than we thought through the engineering company. We think we should be able to get this through 2 budget years, so it's not such a big hit at one time. But it's substantial damage after 30 years in the quarry. We have deterioration of the walls, and they basically need to be replaced at this point. And like I said, it's a very outdoor structure there. When it floods, I mean, that's going underwater. It's a lot of it that's happening. So talking with our director, Sarah Hun and Nick, we think we can probably get it through 2 years, 2 budget years to kind of disperse that money out, just because of just timing, getting it ready to go. By the time we get it going, it'll lapse into two budget years. But yeah, it's substantial, more than we thought.
So the 1.5 million, timing wise, they're doing the design correct. They're doing the investigation. The rest of 25, they will be completing design, going out to bid. So this 1.5 million is definitely needed to pursue those efforts. And I would say by the end of 25, beginning of 26, there will have to be more discussion on that remaining $2 million. But staff would recommend definitely moving forward with 1.5 million for the stormwater. The second one, facilities management projects, the 1.5 million. If you recall, this was a combination for the flood mitigation projects here on campus, as well as a parking deck improvements. Both critical needs. We're still, even after this 1.5 million, we'll still be pursuing 9 million is the remainder of that capital need. But Tim Harbaugh and his staff has done a great job of trying to prioritize. This 1.5 million would probably go entirely toward the flood protection here on campus for the buildings. Our recommendation would be to definitely move forward on that. We have a study underway and hope to have some projects actually maybe breaking ground later this year if that money is freed up. The third project that was put on pause till June 1st was the County Historical Museum capital projects. If you recall, this is a building in downtown Wheaton that we as DuPage County own and are responsible for. We were deeded that building many years ago and all the artifacts in there. So we are responsible for the upkeep of that historic building. And if you recall, this 250,000 Wheaton Park District, they occupy the building and help us run the museum under contract. They are also going to be kicking in 10% on top of this 250. But this is just a long-term down payment. There is substantial needs there. This will go toward, I think the most critical need are the entry steps going into it that have created a hazard walking into it. It's just an old building that needs, the windows, the tuck pointing, the roof is, we did replace that. So there will be ongoing needs that we have, and we will keep up with that. So what we're looking at today would be final direction from the board of 3.25 million of the 2024 surplus. Whether no action is needed. The only action would be if you do not want to free these, then that would be the direction we need. But right now the resolutions are such that, on June 1, it is free to spend, but they have not been spent yet pending this discussion.
Where to start?
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. I'm just curious. So is the 3 million, is that the final amount in our surplus? Have we spent all the rest of the surplus, or how much is the surplus?
Well, remember, this was 2024 surplus, right?
Right.
So if you want to go to the fourth slide. Next, keep going, one more. This is, if you recall, this was a discussion we had back in January regarding a surplus.
Oh, I do remember.
This is what you as a board picked. Only
Right.
3 of them were kind of had the brick on them till June 1st.
I'm just wondering how much surplus from 2024 is left.
Everything's been allocated. Some of the capital projects are still being spent.
Okay.
But everything's allocated. The answer is 0. Everything's been allocated. With this, I would
So
say
0 with the 3 million, or 0 now?
So 3.25 million is what's waiting there for you to give us direction.
And that's all that's left.
That's correct.
Okay, well, in my opinion, Chair Deacon Garcia, I would say go ahead and spend on those projects. Thank you. Thank you. I just wondered how much was left.
Thank you.
So
Member Desart?
nothing is left
Member-
after this. Nick,
What's that?
nothing is left after this.
I mean, I want to be clear though, all of these, if you look at all of these are all capital improvements. And so those projects are ongoing. I'm sure that there's theoretically money left in the capital improvements because they have till the end of the year to get them done. So, but they have all been started. Everything in this list has been started and moving forward. The only 3 that have not been started are the ones that are in front of you today.
Thank you, Member Desart. And Member Shorzy?
Thank you. I'm gonna throw a little bit of a loop in here and maybe just to get this information out. So we know with Trump's 2026 budget that almost all of human services has been cut out of that. And since we have roughly about a $30 million budget in our community services, only 5 of that comes from the general fund. I think this board needs to take that into account now. His budget hasn't been, passed and dissected and so forth, but do we have a plan if that happens? And so this money all of a sudden, to me, in my eyes, looks much bigger in that aspect.
So what you're talking about is operational money, and the federal budget comes out in October. And if you as a board said, don't spend this, what it would do is it would automatically roll into our reserves. You could not dedicate this money to operations. It would roll in reserves, which is fine. You have currently 109 million in reserves right now, a little bit more than 109 million. And this would then basically make it 112 million if you were to roll it in there, because you will never, if you wait till October, you're not going to put this money toward operations. It's got to go in because you can't spend it by our deadline of December 1. So that, I mean, absolutely. There's several. I mean, obviously we have the community services one that we're concerned with, WorkNet we're concerned with, and Care Center. I would say Care Center and WorkNet are getting better news right now. Community services, I mean, I know Mary Keating and her team are constantly looking at that, and that's a possibility. And the question is, will the root programs on a federal level end or will they not? And that's what they're tracking. I mean, the one thing I will say is these three are not, you know, hey, let's do a new project, let's build something. These are maintaining the infrastructure we have. These obligations are your obligations. Whether you fund them now or fund them later, you're going to have to fund them because these are capital projects that you have the responsibility for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Cahill.
Yes, thank you, Nick. I would support 100% going ahead and paying for these or going ahead right now with these three capital projects that need to be done, that if we don't do them, it just gets worse. And the stormwater at the quarry is essential to flood control in DuPage County. The infrastructure, we've talked about that at the parking deck, and flood control here has to be done. And if we own a building in Wheaton and the steps and somebody falls and slips and sues us, we have to do these three projects. And your point is that if we don't do these, this money goes into our surplus. It doesn't go into operations. So it just sits there in our surplus fund where we don't, not surplus, I'm saying that wrong. It goes into our reserves.
Reserve.
And the reserves, we have plenty of reserves. So we need to release this. I also want to make one point of good news through 2026. Through April for our next year budget, through April of 2025, our sales tax is 5.1 million over budget. Okay, so we have collected already 5.1 million over what we budgeted for sales tax. So the economy is great in DuPage County, and the sales tax revenue is coming in better than expected. So that is a real positive.
Member Honig?
Thank you, Chair. I'll echo what Member Cahill said, and especially in stormwater last week, listening to Sarah Hunn's presentation and the consultants that came in and evaluated, the quarry, they even identified other parts of the quarry that need assistance. And I think that just like Nick said, if we don't fund this now, it's going to get much worse, and it's going to end up incurring more of what we were going to need to spend. So I'm definitely in favor of releasing these three items and moving forward, especially for the hazards that are at the historical museum. So I fully support this. So thank you.
To your point there, the one thing I would like to say with stormwater, I know Sarah and Chair Zay did a very good job presenting, and it's very specific. The rock quarry walls, they'll need an extra $2 million, but I can tell you that it will likely be more. Once they start design, that facility is 30+ years old.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to caution all of you. We did get the sales tax, and it was what we considered incredible. But what you also need to understand, please be cautious, because the real tail will be the next one that we get. We have a lot of people that ran out and bought very expensive items because they were afraid of tariffs and other things that have been being done by the federal government. So please hold tight on that, and that doesn't mean we have a lot of extra money. It means next time it could be really devastating. So cross your fingers and hold tight.
Thank you for that clarification, Chair Conroy. Always better to be on the safe side. Does anybody else have any comments on this? Member Krajewski?
Well, I was going to wait for new business, but maybe we just do it here since it kind of talks about it. Because we went through this and we've done it every year in November where we have a surplus and we go through the fire drill of telling us what we need to do as a board and what we could do it. Maybe we can continue in the next couple of months in having, Jeff present at the end of every month, finance, where we're at. We're 6 months through the year. The budgeted expenses can't go higher because we haven't appropriated, but where we may be under and where the surplus looks like it's going, because income tax also has been going higher than what we budgeted. It's not as much as our sales tax. And yes, last month was the record sales tax this county ever had, but 5 months in a row, we've been exceeding the prior 5 months. So we do have a surplus. I don't know where all the other revenue sources are. Clearly, property taxes are exactly what we levy because we collect that 100%. But where our revenues are, 6 months through the year, we're probably projecting a surplus again. And then we could maybe have some of the ideas that the board may want to address. Maybe it's Member Schwarze's issue as we get closer to November. So we don't have November coming up and say we have X surplus, but we should have a report every month where we think our projected expenses are going forward for the end of the year, where we're going to finish at, and where our revenues are at. So as it every month gets closer to the end of the year, we will know. It appears we have, like Member Cahill said, we had 5.2 million already over our budget for just sales tax, but maybe it goes down, as Chair Conroy said, next month. But we can see that every month. We can see we're looking at maybe a $10 million surplus, and maybe it's only 6 million. And what are we going to do with that versus getting it to us in November? But I think at the end of every month going forward, we should have from finance a projection of all our revenue sources and where they are currently at actual and where we think they're going to be at the end of the year. And then same thing with the expenses, what we've actually spent and where we think it's going to be.
Yes, you make a good point. One of the things that we did do last year is do a 6-month update. So what I would really like to do, though, is we have all the departments come back, submit their budgets with their projections. We certainly can come back and project revenue right now, and we can also do a 6-month update that shows that.
But now according to finance a few months ago, every department's putting in their entries for actuals. They're there pretty much within a week or whatever. So at the end of every month going forward, we should get a report on where you have the actuals for the entire county and where the projections are and where the actuals are. And but same thing with the revenues. And then we can see where the surpluses are. And that's going to change, and it's going to get closer to actual at the end of November every month that goes by. So at the end of July, we can see where our revenues are currently at, where our expenses are at actual, and where they are to budget. And then we'll know it looks like a surplus right now of X. And as it gets closer, it's going to show us what it is. But that way we can plan instead of waiting until November and you guys come to us. We can say, okay, we have some ideas. Member Schwarze has an idea. Somebody else has an idea what we can do with some of that money if it is a surplus. If it's not, they don't. Member Zay needs another 2.5 million, or at least for the following year for the stormwater. So we can just allocate those, and we can make priorities based on at least the number of months of discussion versus getting it all at the end.
And to that point, we can provide updated information to the board, but to Chair Conroy's discussion, I would be very cautious because I do think the next 3 months of sales tax data will tell the tale where we go. The really good thing, we do have 5.1 million. We have a buffer, but the question is, where will it go in the next 3 months? That's really the question. And I will tell you, the 26 budget, it's all going to be wrapped around a good estimate of the revenue. We'll back into the budget from the revenue, but it is very turbulent times with revenue, and that will be the vast majority of the 26 budget is really having a good handle on the revenue that we think is going to come in 26.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Nick. Does anybody else have any comment on this? The only thing that I would like to add on this, I'm going to go back to Member Desart.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, what is the $5 million budget and what barrel is that in? Surplus?
So right now we have the sales tax every month. We get from the state. Right now we are running 5.1 million. Very positive, very great. But we do feel like the next couple of months are going to maybe flip the other way. It's just when the revenue comes in, it's not allocated to any particular thing. That theoretically, if that were to continue the rest of the year, this would help generate the surplus for 25 that you as a board would figure out. It can't be spent until you as a board figure out. But I will tell you, I do think that This last month was artificially inflated with all the purchasing going on. I mean, just by what we're seeing out there before the tariffs, I think that might be artificially inflated.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, anyone else before I do my thing? Okay, going back to the surplus recap on these three items, I very clearly do believe that we should be supporting these right now because the stormwater Elmhurst Quarry project is much needed. So much damage could happen if that was not completed, so I really am behind that 100%. The facility management infrastructure projects, we've spent so much ARPA money on improving our buildings and making them up to date and more modernized. If we don't have some kind of stormwater solution here on our campus, I think that's the wrong move. So I'm really behind that. The parking deck, we don't want, that's also a liability, and I think that's something we need to get behind also. And of course, same with the historical museum capital project, the stairways, is a liability. So I think that we would be doing a disservice if we do not approve these right today. I do realize that we've got issues coming up with us up front, as last week was a major coronary about a transit bill that was being under discussion. So there are things changing on a daily basis here at the county and every day. I don't know if we're necessarily going to do a monthly report, Member Krajewski, because I think that would be a lot for our staff to do. But we will be keeping up the ward up to date on a regular basis as things do change, as I know that your staff's always been doing. So if I can ask, please, for a consensus of hands for releasing these funds for these projects, please raise your hands. I have unanimous consensus on that, so you now have your direction on that. So thank you so much. Okay, any old business to discuss for today? Member Krajewski.
You said that it's gonna be a lot of work. Any board that governs any kind of organization gets actual financials every month for operations on how it's going, what the actual expenses are and what the actual income is. And it shouldn't generate that much time to be able to give us that report.
And I don't want to argue with Member Kajewski, but I do want to know that they're also in the process of doing budgeting. They're also in the process of doing ARPA. I have to do the ARPA auditing. There's a lot of things going on.
That is one of the essential things that us as a board should have on what our actual revenues are monthly and what our actual expenses are, so we know where we're at to budget.
Not disagreeing with you.
And it doesn't take that long to give us, but that's one thing that we have not had here.
Member Krajewski.
When I was mayor down.
Member Krajewski.
I got that every.
Okay, we're gonna stop.
month.
We're gonna have Jeff
We
speak.
provide that with OpenGov. It's online every month. It's on our website.
Right.
Then you could just present it to us in a meeting here. Just give it to us. Here's what it is. We just one slide. That's all I need.
We're planning on doing that.
Okay.
We will combine all of
And-
this
and that's why
once the budget requests come
You-
in.
You said a couple of months ago, it's easy. It's right there. It shouldn't take them any time to provide.
And I understand what you're saying. I also want you to understand that they also have other things that they're doing. So I just want to make sure that you're clear on that. Member Galassi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could we, just as a board, get the monthly sales tax revenue, just sent to us? I know you have an ongoing spreadsheet. Could we just get that
Absolutely.
included in our packet? Thank you.
Yeah. Member Desart.
Thank you. Yeah, I just had a comment to make about the Member Initiative Program and just something that I'd like my colleagues to consider. And that is, I don't know how you're working it in your district, but in my district, the three of us work together on several projects, and then we have extra funds available for our own personal Member Initiative programs. And we have a few $1,000s left over here, a few thousand left over there. Some of the projects, let's say I gave 5,000 to a certain organization for a project, and they only spent 4,000 on it. So there's, extra money there. My point is, something to consider is that for every, for the few leftover thousands that we have, if we could pool that money together and save it for food insecurity, we don't have to spend it right now, but as some of these dire circumstances are perhaps revealed, we've got extra money in our food security program. Just something to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Desart. Any other discussion on old business? Any new business? Okay, then I need motion to move into executive session pursuant to Open Meetings Act 5 ILC 12-2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or the representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. and pursuant to Open Meetings Act 5 ILCS. Still talking. We're going to move into an executive session. The appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees. Can I get a motion to move into executive session, please? Motion by member Honig, second by member Heather. All those, can we get a roll call, please?
Member Cahill. Member Childress. Member Covert.
Aye.
Member Desart. Member Eckhoff. Member Evans. Member Galassi.
Thank you.
Member Garcia.
Aye.
Member Heather. Member Honig. Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Ozog. Member Rutledge. Member Schwarzy. Member Tornatori. Member Yu. And Member Zay.
Okay, we're gonna give us about